Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Hello and welcome into the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host tonight, Cassidy Wood, joined alongside the wonderful Brian Batko on this fabulous Saturday evening here in Pittsburgh. And it's so cold and snowy outside, Brian, but we saw some golf today, which, means good weather is around the corner, hopefully. Spring is on the horizon.
Yeah, a lot of golf, a lot of college basketball right now, obviously NHL, but no Penguins today. And then, of course, Patriots-Seahawks tomorrow, Super Bowl LX. So the way Roman numerals work, it's the opposite of Super Bowl XL, Steelers-Seahawks from 20 years ago. An all-time great game in this franchise's history.
Oh, yes. And we'll get into all things Super Bowl. I do want to start a little bit with college basketball, though. Unfortunate that Pitt basketball, another loss for them against SMU today. It's always fun here in and around Pittsburgh when the local college teams are doing well. And right now it's not super exciting. Bobby Moe able to pull out a win, but
Duquesne on a little bit of a hot streak.
Duquesne had an exciting win, against George Mason, and then against George Washington. But Pitt struggling a little bit, and it's not super fun to see. But man, there was a thriller on tonight, though. North Carolina and Duke. That was very exciting.
Yeah, starting with Pitt, it's been a rough season for them, obviously, and SMU comes in here, a team that has sort of rated the transfer portal better than Pitt. It's what everybody's doing for the most part in college basketball. Teams like Duke and UNC can still bring in these five-star recruits who are going to be lottery picks come June, but most of the rest of the country needs to try to get those guys in the portal and pay them that NIL money to get them to transfer up, or in some cases transfer down if you're coming from one of the blue blood programs. And you kind of just throw your team together, slap 5 or 6 guys on the floor at a time, and hope it works out. And at least right now for Jeff Capel's Pitt program, that does not seem to be the case.
Yeah, heading into the season, right, we kind of had a feeling, this roster, there wasn't a whole lot of guys on this roster that even had Power 4 experience at all, much less, played in big games at all. So coming into the season, we kind of knew what to expect with this roster. But I guess my question to you, Brian, is what's the answer for this program? How are they ever going to be able to turn this around, or are they just kind of be one of those programs that's kind of stuck in a little bit of mediocrity going forward unless they really cough up some NIL money? And is that really the only thing you can point to is just the money side of it?
Well, it's definitely difficult in today's college sports landscape and football, men's basketball to really be competitive if you don't have that kind of cash to throw around. And we know there are some teams that either have the tradition and the resources to do that year in and year out, or they get some big donors who step up to the plate. I'm thinking along the lines of Texas Tech and Indiana in football this past season. Even it seems like what SMU is doing in basketball. I had this thought during the highlight package. Is anybody in Pittsburgh enjoying having SMU in the ACC and playing these teams year in and year out? First of all, there's zero sort of rivalry or nostalgia to it, and second of all, Pitt has not matched up well with them. I think about a couple years ago, the football season went off the rails when they went down to Dallas and got crushed by SMU. So I don't know what the answer is. It still can be done, but I just think it takes a really good coaching job. It takes a sort of unforeseen level of chemistry between your players to sort of be the old school basketball team at the college level that is greater than the sum of its parts. And you see some teams like St. Louis, I think, is in the top 25. They're having a good season. Miami of Ohio is undefeated. It's not as random there in that conference. But for a team like Pitt, I know there's some excitement that Capel's got a really good recruiting class coming in, but it's not even easy to win with freshmen anymore because so many teams just get old and stay old.
Yeah, they're not recruiting high school kids anymore, really. That's for certain. They're going after, the transfer portal, because why go after a kid with not any college experience if you can hit the portal and get guys with years of experience at this point. And I mean, they're transferring after one season, so a lot of these guys are going to have 4 or 5 different schools by the time they eventually actually run their eligibility out. I was going to say graduate, but who knows even where they're graduating from. So yeah, it's crazy right now. You know, we've been talking about it for a while, ever since they opened up the transfer portal like this and opened up NIL like this, how the gap between the haves and have-nots is just going to keep widening. And you know, it feels like, unfortunately, Pitt is one of those programs that might get kind of caught by the wayside.
You talk about a juxtaposition in today's action. You know, UNC ranked 14th beats Duke. We know that's the biggest rivalry in college basketball, right? But they stormed the floor in Chapel Hill. I mean, I know that's a big win for them, but that's going to be a controversial topic because I think Duke coach John Shire complained about it after the game and that things got a little too raucous and rowdy on the court. I wasn't even necessarily thinking about it along those lines, but more so 10, 15 years ago, that was unheard of at Pitt. The student section, the Oakland Zoo, refused to ever storm the court because they just expected to win big games at the Peterson Event Center no matter who they were playing. And man, does that seem like a far off age right now with what we've seen from Pitt hoops lately.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate too. It's just the environment over there. It's not what it normally is. Not a lot of people are
Well, Duke's coming to town Tuesday night. I wonder if people will come out of the woodwork for that. 9 o'clock tip, maybe the #1 pick in Cameron Boozer, Carlos Boozer's son. So,
well, and that's going to be a very, very scary game now because Duke is definitely going to come in here with a chip on their shoulder after losing the way they did over on Chapel Hill. But all right, guys, we're going to head to our first break. Give us a call, 412-575-2600. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Nightly Sports Call. This is our Xfinity tweet of the night from Larry Fitzgerald, the man himself. I'm humbled beyond measure and would not be here without the love and support of my family, the NFL, my teammates, coaches, Arizona Cardinals, and the Red Sea. Thank you to everyone who has been a part of this journey. So, of course, Larry Fitzgerald, first ballot Hall of Famer. And, you know, Brian, it was interesting because this year's voting for the Pro Football Hall of Fame was a little bit controversial. Bill Belichick not getting in as a first ballot because some of the voting, it came out afterwards. They just thought everyone was going to obviously vote for him, so they voted for other people. And, you know, it raises the question. First and foremost, I want to congratulate Larry Fitzgerald, just such a Pittsburgh great. Obviously went on to spend 17 years with one team, which we don't see happen often.
One helmet guy. He got the last laugh against Jason White in the end when he win the Heisman Trophy. But I think the Pro Football Hall of Fame is not a bad consolation prize. Yeah.
So big congratulations to Larry Fitz, but it does, you know, raise kind of a question for next year. Next year, there's a lot of guys that are going to be qualified to be voted and inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That includes Big Ben, that includes Antonio Brown, Adrian Peterson, Cam Newton. It's a long list of guys. So, Brian, first question to you, is Big Ben a first ballot Hall of Famer? And secondarily, is Antonio Brown?
I think Ben is, as a quarterback with 2 Super Bowl trophies, you know, an iconic play in the second of those against Larry Fitzgerald's Cardinals, and excellent statistical numbers too, which we know these voters look at. The only reason that I have any pause about it is Eli Manning is still waiting to get in, another 2-time Super Bowl champion. Obviously, he doesn't have the same individual stats that Ben has, and I don't think he was as good of a player by any stretch, but you know, you still factor in a lot of those kind of hard and fast accolades like the rings. So I would assume that Ben will get in on the first ballot, but you never know. People thought that about Bill Belichick. Antonio Brown, I don't think he's going to get in right away. I know it's not supposed to be about off-the-field considerations, but voters are human. I think it's kind of hard to overlook some of those things. And also some of what Antonio Brown did was cancerous to the on-the-field product as well, at least at the end of his time in Pittsburgh, or starting with the end of his time in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, true. I agree with you there. It's never a good sign when you end up getting sat in the, you know, your final Week 17 game. Not a good sign at all. Guys, this is our Penn West University question of the night. Who will win the Super Bowl? Plain and simple. The Seahawks at 100% right now, or the Patriots. Let your voice be heard there. And with that, let's go.
No one's asked me that all week, Cassidy.
Huh?
No one's asked me that all week, who will win the Super Bowl.
No one's asked you who you think will win?
No, I'm just joking.
Well, who do you think is going to win?
Well, we'll save that for the end. How about that?
Well, I was going to say with that, I think we have someone on the phone line who wants to talk about the Super Bowl. So
nice.
Let's go to Mike in Greensburg. Mike, how are you?
Very good. How are you?
Good.
I'm like,
Good to hear from both of you. What's your opinion? Will it be Seattle or New England? And also, is it going to be over or under the 44.5 points?
44.5. I'm going to have to go with over. I think the Super Bowl, I don't know. I think a lot of times, especially with these two teams, I think the offense is going to be a little bit better than what people might be expecting. I know the Seahawks defense is scary, but I don't know. I think Drake May and Mike Vrabel might be cooking something up for this Patriots offense. And look, the Patriots going into this game, Brian, they are the underdogs. But I do think, and granted, look, we're journalists. We tend to root for the storyline. Sam Darnold does have a great redemption arc that he's, trying to live out right now. But I just think what Mike Vrabel has been able to do in 1 year with his former team and get them back to the big game the way he has, it's just been really impressive. And I know people are so sick of the Patriots winning and, they just had a 20-year run and they need time to rebuild to get back to this. And are they actually really back in this game? I can't believe it. Oh my gosh. But part of me is kind of rooting for it a little bit. What about you?
I didn't expect to hear you say that. Not a lot of people are picking the Patriots. I kind of look at it this way. Last year, I think the team with the clearly better roster won in Eagles over Chiefs. 2 years ago, I think the team with the clearly better quarterback won in Chiefs over 49ers. So to me, when I'm trying to pick this game, what do I think is bigger? The gap between Drake May and Sam Darnold in terms of quarterback play. May obviously was right up there, bumping up against Matthew Stafford in final MVP voting with what he did this season. Or the gap between the Seahawks roster and the Patriots roster from top to bottom. I think it's really close. But I think I'm actually going to go with the quarterback factor here. So I'm going to pick New England. I think Drake May just makes one more play than Sam Darnold does, or maybe makes one less mistake than Sam Darnold does. And I think that over-under that they set is really, really close to how it's going to play out. I'll go Patriots 24, Seahawks 21.
Yeah, I like that score a lot. I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. I am a little scared, though, counting Sam Darnold out in this game. I feel like the poor guy has just been underrated his entire career. He's been passed over. And a backup quarterback, plays with Minnesota last year, takes them 14 wins, gets kind of lowballed with his contract, bets on himself, goes to Seattle, and in 1 year has been able to take them, to the championship game. So I feel bad picking against the guy because I feel like he's been picked against his entire career. So I feel bad adding to that. But in the same breath, it's just like, yeah, his connection with JSN, very incredible. The defense is awesome. But there's just something, and maybe it is a little bit of recency bias too. Look, the Patriots dynasty is pretty much the majority of my life, what I knew growing up. And so it feels almost wrong to bet against that.
Mr. Darnold, if you're watching right now on KDKA+, first of all, you should probably get some sleep. I know it's only 7:50 in San Fran, but don't hold it against Cassidy Wood. I'll say this much. I kind of decided long ago that I'm going to be late on Sam Darnold rather than early on Sam Darnold. So if he goes and balls out and, puts 30 points on this Patriots defense or whatever and they win the Super Bowl, I'll say, okay, I'll admit I was wrong about Darnold. But I think I've seen too much of him that I really can't trust him going into any game, let alone the biggest of games.
Yeah, I think if there's one thing we can look at this game tomorrow, there's a blueprint right there for the Steelers to look at and be like, oh, it is possible. It is possible to turn a team around in 1 or 2 years. All you need is solid coaching and a quarterback. And, did we get that in Mike McCarthy? And is he going to be able to come in here and either develop Will Howard or bring Rodgers back? And is Rodgers going to be able to do that? But Mike Vrabel, what he's been able to do going to New England and getting them to the Super Bowl in one season with, a quarterback in his sophomore season, by the way, is just so impressive.
Yeah, there's shades of what both these franchises have done in the model that the Steelers are trying to follow here.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to head to our last break. Give us a call, 412-575-2600. We're going to talk more big game and other sports right after this. Welcome back to the Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host tonight, Cassidy Wood. Joined alongside me is Brian Batko. And Brian, before we go tonight, we were talking a lot about the Super Bowl tomorrow and got your score and everything. But before we go, I did want to talk a little Pens because these guys were hot, and then went on a 2-game skid, and then they were able to pull out the win before this Olympic break, which I think is so big for the momentum going into this break. And look, I'm all for NHL players getting to play in the Olympics again, but I feel like this break is not coming at the best time for the Pens because I feel like they're riding high right now. They were pretty hot right there, and I don't know. I feel like this break, is it going to help or hurt, you know? Yeah,
they're red hot right now. You'd like to see them keep rolling, ideally. But, yeah, I mean, it's been a season of peaks and valleys for them. So I think, you know, they've kind of pulled out of slides already. Maybe they can pull out of some time off as well. And to that point, maybe it's not as big of a deal that it comes now when they have some momentum. Curious, Cassidy, are you into the Olympics beyond just the men's hockey and women's hockey? Are you going to be watching a lot of this here in the next couple weeks?
Oh, yeah, I love the Olympics. I really do, Bri. Like, I don't know what it is. It's just all of a sudden you get that national like pride and you just feel it. I watched the opening ceremonies last night and it got me like kind of emotional. And I just love the figure skating. I went through like a weird little phase when I was younger where I was weirdly obsessed with
Who didn't? Tara Lipinski, Christy Yamaguchi, yep. Michelle Kwan. How could you not?
Yes. Oh, I was obsessed with all of them. So I love watching the figure skating. Honestly, love the bobsledding and the curling too. It's funny. It's interesting.
I was going to say, I don't really watch the, more novelty sports. It'll increase my interest in hockey a little bit, and figure skating, yes, I might find myself having that on in the background, but not a huge Olympics watcher, to be honest. The country pride, the national pride doesn't really make me pay more attention to sports I don't normally pay attention to.
Well, I will shout out as well the women's ice hockey team for Team USA. They have 4 girls that have been through the Pens Elite program. So shout out those women, and hopefully they bring home the gold. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Same place, same time.